So, really looking forward to the webinar next week, and maybe let's kick off this little preview by telling us, well, why is content so important?
Well, that's a huge question. I mean, ultimately, content is all you have. It's everything you see on the page. Probably the more urgent and important question is why is quality content important? And I think that's something that companies, webmasters, writers struggle with. It's a strange thing to struggle with because intuitively we must understand that quality content is better, but we're under a lot of pressure to produce content. We're under time pressure. There's that absurd thing that people call internet time, which every writer dreads hearing that. There's price pressure, and with the result that very often the content we create is not as great as it could be, and that's a problem, and it hurts us, and particularly in the post-Panda world. One of the things Google said in its advice after the Panda update was, and it's the piece of advice, I think they had a list of 23 tips, and most of them we all kind of knew before. In fact, all of it we knew before, really. But they articulated one point in a way that really sticks in my mind. They said, look, if you're creating a page of content, before you put it online, imagine that you were submitting it to the editor of a quality newspaper, print newspaper, print magazine. What would the editor say? Would they say, oh, hey, Nick, this is it's just so similar to what you submitted last week, or hey, this is way too short, or hey, you know what, there's nothing new or interesting here? Or would they say, oh wow, this is a wonderful piece, yes, we're going to print it on page 3 in tomorrow's edition? That kind of professional scrutiny, sure, I think is something we have to do for ourselves. And when you produce content of that quality, as you know very well, it can have a huge impact on your traffic, on how many people hear about you, on how many people share your content, and as you said in conversations before, the longevity of that content. I know that the quickie content that I write is there, it gets a blip for a week and it's gone because it really wasn't worth anything to begin with. It wasn't worth much to begin with. The pages where I've gone to a lot of trouble and put in a lot of work and research and written and rewritten and rewritten, and it's 1,000 or 1,500 word page, maybe it has some other visual elements in it. Those are the pages where, and I'm thinking of one in particular now, where, 8 years later, it's still a significant entry point into one of my websites.
And one of the things that's fantastic about that is the investment in creating that article or that content right at the start has kept you going for 8 years. It's still paying a return on that investment.
That page, that one page, which I probably spent a day on, which at the time is scary, like a day on one page. Yes. That page, in fact, it has a couple of affiliate links in it. The page wasn't driven to get attention for those affiliate links, but they were there saying, hey, if you're interested in this tool or whatever, here are a couple of links. So the links were provided. I wasn't selling the links, they were just provided there as further reading, but they were affiliate links. I calculated, in fact, a while ago, I was thinking about that page. I went back, hey, this is just me as an individual, not as a big corporate entity. That page has earned me over $20,000.
Wow!
From just affiliate links. So I spent a day on that content, and for 8 years it's been paying me. But still, I know how hard it is to get out of the habit of saying, "Oh, look, I can do a quick page on this or a quick page on that." You don't spend a day on it; you spend like 40 minutes on it. It's up, and you feel good. But ultimately, it's not useful.
Yes.
So I think that's a competitive advantage people should really think about. Is the return on quality as opposed to quantity.
Well, you've got a fantastic body of work about freelancing, about copywriting, about small business tactics online, fantastic stuff. But you've also got a coffee site, is that right?
Yes, that's my.
So what has that taught you?
What has that taught me? Well, it's a site all about coffee, making gourmet coffee at home. It's started out as purely a hobby site. I love coffee, and an experiment. But actually, it's turned out to be a significant second income, a significant source of revenue. And in fact, it's funny you should ask that, because I've probably learned more from that side than I have from every professional conference I've ever been to on the internet and internet marketing and keyword research and stuff, because I'm actually doing it. And I'll tell you, the one thing that I've found with that, the most important thing, is that I am absolutely out there behind the counter in the web. People know it's me. They know I'm there. They can ask me direct questions. The site is linked to a Facebook page and a Twitter page. People get to know me. And that sense of it being real, of being somebody there. And this is something I've talked about for, it must be almost 15 years now. Is hugely powerful. And again, most website owners don't get this, the power of being there. I think that's the title of an article I wrote back in 1999 or something, because I had a client who had this tiny, absurd little device on his homepage that indicated that he was there, and he forgot to update it at one point, and his sales, this is a big e-commerce company, his sales dropped 45% in 48 hours, simply because people thought he wasn't there anymore.
Wow, that's
so
incredible.
that I think is my biggest. I've learned a ton from actually creating my own sites, but that's probably the most important thing, is the power of being there and being accessible and being, really trying to help people. It's not like, oh, I'm going to create a helpful page if I can optimize it for a particular keyword. Like, at a moment like that, you put aside the keyword stuff, you put aside all the expertise, you just genuinely kind of step out and say, yeah, I can help you with that.
Yeah, and I think you step into what gives you pleasure yourself, what you're enthusiastic about.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're not enthusiastic, if you don't genuinely want to help or educate or entertain your viewers, then you're just doing it as you're trying to put together a machine that makes money. But it never engages people to the same degree, unless you're enthusiastic and genuine, and you kind of reach out to your readers and your viewers.
Yeah, excellent. And again, from what we've talked about before, when you talk about content, it's not just written content that's important. There's a huge variety of stuff you can create now, isn't that right?
Absolutely. I mean, where very few of us are on dial-up anymore. Hi, Mum. Time to get off dial-up. But yeah, the web grew up as text only, and there's a lot of pressure on text only, principally because it's cheap. You can get writers to create a page for you for $8 or $15 or something like that, and text is cheap and fast, and you can outsource it and put up 1,000 new pages a month. Not very good pages, but it's not actually what people want. There's a huge and growing trend of people wanting to engage through multimedia. Whether that be through video or audio, or just could be photographs, could be a slideshow presentation, could be an infographic. And it's, I'm in two minds about it, because I love to dig into a 1,000-word page of content, whether it be an article or a review that's really, really well researched and written. I love good content like that. But I'm also a sucker, along with everyone else, for quick and easy content, and that often means an infographic or a video, and people love that stuff. So, the price of content notwithstanding, if you want to differentiate yourself with quality and you want to really attract and engage people, think of multimedia. I mean, don't discount text, but you can add multimedia to text.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I couldn't agree more. So we're going to have a really, really great webinar next week, and we're going to go over a lot of this stuff in a lot more detail. Would you have one tip that you would now pass on to people, or really emphasize this is the sort of thing to think about between now and then?
I would say learn from what you can do with social media. Because social media is really I was talking about being there, about being available to your readers and viewers, and multimedia really brings that. I mean, social media really brings that into focus. They want to interact with you, and also it's a wonderful way of just like testing headlines. You'll have whatever, maybe 9 or 10 words to play with in a tweet, and maybe it's the headline or title off a page. And you'll soon learn that a really strong headline gets a lot more attention in social media and gets shared a lot more, retweeted or liked or whatever. And so I'm constantly learning. I'm using social media to learn how to better create page content that attracts attention, engages readers, and makes, and the holy grail of this is to make your content more shareable.
Yes.
Which in your terms, with your background and body of work, is the same as linkable.
Yes,
absolutely. If something is shareable, it is linkable. It's something that you look at and see, and you either want to share it or you want to link to it, and it's really, two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely, that engagement with the online audience is just crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think a bit for me, the way that I look at web content, the way I create web content, has been influenced enormously just by studying what works and doesn't work in social media, what gets people's attention. And there are so many tools out there now. There's terabytes of data created by companies, just tracking social media. And I can put in, with various tools, and we'll talk about them during the webinar. We'll talk about some of them during the webinar. There are tools out there that give you incredible insights into what people are excited about now, what people are writing about now, what phrases and words they're using when they write about something now. And that is absolutely golden for any content creator to understand, not to try and guess or research what people want to be reading today, but to find out what people are reading today and the phrases and words they're using as they describe it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And the link building and social media go so much together. And
absolutely.
And I think sometimes people get the wrong idea about particularly link building, because you've got to remember, it's not websites that give you links, it's people that give you links. And you've got to have that engagement with people. And to do that, well, social media is a fantastic way of finding people and making initial contact with them.
Oh, hey, what I've done in the past is I've put something up on Twitter, someone's retweeted it, then I do a direct message saying, hey, thanks for the RT. And then we get into this little conversation, and at some point in Twitter I'll say, hey, I can only say, we can only say so much in 140 characters. Give me your email address, and a conversation and a relationship begins. So it starts off as a very weak connection and then turns into a deeper connection, and before you know it, there's links appearing on their website or from my website or whatever. So yeah, great starting point, great learning tool.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I really love is there's no such thing as a cold call now. You can always find out of people. When you're making an approach for a link, or you're approaching a site, will you take this content? You're not doing it blind anymore, because there's absolutely no reason why you can't find out a lot about that site that you're targeting and about the person behind the site.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that's fantastic, Nick. Thank you very much for doing that. Really looking forward to the webinar next week. And what I would say to people out there is drop us a few questions beforehand.
That'd be great. That'd be wonderful.
Do you want to give your email address?
If people have got questions relating to web content and the webinar we're doing, just email me at nick@nickusbourne.com. NICKUSBORNE.com.
That's fantastic, and likewise, any questions as well that you've got, address them to ken@wordtracker.com. And we're really looking forward to the webinar next week, and we will do our best to answer all your questions. Nick, thanks very much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
And we'll talk again in our live, unscripted webinar, and we'll see how many tangles we can get ourselves into.
That's fantastic, Nick. Thank you very much.